Blood is responsible for several transport, regulation, and protective functions of the body. Within the transport functions, the blood carries oxygen that it picks up from the lungs. Oxygen is carried specifically by a protein called hemoglobin that's found within the red blood cells called the erythrocytes. It also absorbs and transports nutrients from the foods that are broken down within the digestive system. It carries carbon dioxide to the lungs to be eliminated. Carbon dioxide is a gas waste product that is created from the breakdown and metabolism of glucose. So at the lungs, carbon dioxide is eliminated when we exhale. The endocrine system uses the bloodstream as its primary mechanism to transport hormones. The bloodstream takes those hormones anywhere that the blood flows within the body. The blood also regulates its own pH and chemistry using substances such as proteins and a chemical compound called bicarbonate. It regulates and controls body temperature by redistributing body heat to the skin or other tissues. The water content that is found within the bloodstream absorbs and holds onto heat extremely well. So by increasing or decreasing blood flow to the skin or to the muscles, the body can very carefully regulate how much heat it loses or retains depending on the situation. The blood, working closely with the kidneys, functions in regulating the volume of water within itself and the overall fluid volume of the cells and tissues along with it. For the protective functions of blood, it protects us from blood loss by clotting when there is damage to blood vessels, and it also protects us from pathogens, tumors, and other infectious microorganisms or viruses due to the presence of leukocytes that are present within the bloodstream. So if we were to draw a sample of blood from the body and place it in a sample tube that has been coated with heparin on its internal surface, and then allow that tube to sit vertically for several hours, we would see the major blood elements settle into 3 layers. The heparin within the tube functions as an anticoagulant to keep the blood within its liquid state, as blood will clot and clump when it is no longer moving through the body. We could also put that sample of blood into a centrifuge. The centrifuge will spin at a high velocity and accelerate the settling of the elements that gravity would normally do. So as a tissue, blood is a connective tissue, and all connective tissues are composed of 2 basic elements, the cells and the extracellular matrix. For blood, the cells are collectively called the formed elements, and the extracellular matrix is called the plasma. So in a typical healthy adult male, there is approximately 5 to 6 liters of total blood volume, while in a typical healthy adult female, there is approximately 4 to 5 liters of total blood volume. Continuing with the characteristics of blood, we find that blood has a normal temperature of 38 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a little higher than the typical body temperature of 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The high water content of the blood plasma causes blood to absorb and retain body heat extremely well. Blood also has a high viscosity or stickiness. Viscosity is a variable that measures a fluid's resistance to flow. So fluids with higher viscosities are more resistant to flowing. So think honey or syrup in this example. The viscosity of blood is due to the presence of the red blood cells that are found within it. So returning to the 3 layers found in our centrifuge tube of blood, those layers correspond to the plasma, the buffy coat, and the hematocrit. So once again, if we withdraw a sample of blood from the body and place that blood in a centrifuge tube that's coated with heparin, and then spin that sample of blood at a high speed for a few minutes, we would see 3 layers upon removing that sample from the centrifuge. The least dense components will compose the top layer, which is the blood plasma and the substances that are dissolved within the plasma. Plasma composes approximately 55% of whole blood volume. The middle layer consists of the leukocytes and the platelets, which are collectively called the buffy coat, and they compose less than 1% of the whole blood volume. The most dense component has settled at the bottom of the sample and is composed of the erythrocytes or the red blood cells. The erythrocytes compose approximately 45% of the whole blood volume and is often referred to as the hematocrit, which is defined as the percentage of erythrocytes in whole blood. Collectively, the buffy coat and the erythrocytes compose the formed elements of the blood.